Have you ever checked your pocket change for valuable pennies? You might be thinking, a penny? Really? But what I'm about to share today might have you emptying your coin jars and checking dates with a magnifying glass. I'm talking about two seemingly ordinary Lincoln cents from the mid-1990s that can be worth thousands, yes, thousands, of dollars. While most modern coins rarely command impressive premiums, the 1994 and 1995 Lincoln cent stand as remarkable exceptions to this rule, and their stories are absolutely fascinating. Today we're diving deep into these two incredible modern rarities. Whether you're a seasoned numismatist or someone who just discovered a jar of old pennies in your attic, by the end of this video, you'll know exactly what to look for and why these humble 1-cent pieces command such extraordinary prices. Let's jump right in with the 1994 penny, a coin that continues to baffle and excite the collecting community to this day. The story of the 1994 Lincoln cent begins, as many great numismatic tales do, with a mint error that went largely unnoticed for years. The United States Mint in Philadelphia and Denver combined to produce over 13.5 billion pennies in 1994, that's billion with a B. Most of these coins were completely ordinary, the kind you'd get in change and think nothing of. But hidden among these billions were a small number of specimens struck on the wrong planchets, copper-plated zinc instead of solid copper. Let's take a step back and understand why this happened. In 1982, the U.S. Mint changed the composition of the Lincoln cent from 95% copper and 5% zinc to a much cheaper copper-plated zinc composition, essentially a zinc core with a thin copper coating. This was done because the price of copper had risen to the point where the metal in a penny was worth more than 1 cent, making it economically unsustainable. However, in 1994, something unusual happened. The Mint accidentally used some solid copper planchets, the metal discs that are struck to create coins, instead of the standard copper-plated zinc ones. This mistake created what collectors now call the 1994 double-die obverse copper penny, and it's one of the most sought-after modern errors. What exactly makes this coin so special? First, you need to understand what a double die means. During the minting process, the die, the piece of metal used to stamp the design onto blank coins, was struck twice at slightly different angles, creating a doubling effect visible on Lincoln's portrait and the lettering. This doubling is most noticeable in the word Liberty and the date, 1994, on the obverse, or front side, of the coin. But here's where it gets really interesting. While double die errors aren't uncommon, the 1994 double die was particularly pronounced. And when this error was combined with the wrong planchet material, copper instead of zinc, it created a perfect storm of rarity. Experts estimate that fewer than 500,000 of these error coins entered circulation, a tiny fraction of the billions produced that year. If you're wondering how to identify one in your collection, take a magnifying glass and look closely at Lincoln's ear and the lettering. The doubling effect should be visible to the naked eye, but a magnifier will make it unmistakable. The word Liberty should show clear doubling, as should the date. Additionally, if you weigh the coin, a genuine copper 1994 penny will weigh 3.11 grams, while the standard copper-plated zinc version weighs just 2.5 grams. Another telling sign. The sound. Drop the penny on a hard surface. A solid copper penny will make a distinctive ringing sound, while a zinc penny makes more of a dull thud. This simple test has helped many collectors identify valuable copper pennies from this era. Now, let's talk about what these coins are actually worth. In circulated condition, a 1994 double die obverse can command anywhere from $250 to $500, depending on wear and other factors. But in uncirculated condition, what numismatists call mint state, the value skyrockets. A certified MS 65, mint state 65 on a scale of 70, 1994 double die can sell for $2,500 to $3,500. The finest examples, graded MS 67 or higher, have sold at auction for over $15,000. In fact, in 2019, a perfectly preserved specimen graded MS 68 by PCGS professional coin grading service, sold for an astonishing $32,900 at a heritage auction sale. That's an incredible return on a 1-cent investment. But what makes this story even more compelling is that new 1994 double-die copper pennies are still being discovered in circulation today. Unlike many valuable coins that were snatched up quickly, these errors weren't widely recognized when they first entered circulation. This means there's a genuine chance you could find one in your change or in that jar of pennies sitting in your closet. I actually heard a wonderful story from a viewer named Richard in Ohio who discovered a 1994 double die in a roll of pennies he bought from his local bank in 2018. He almost missed it, but noticed the doubling while sorting through the coins under his desk lamp. That coin, in relatively good condition, was appraised at over $1,800. Not bad for something that cost him exactly 1 cent. The collecting community has embraced this modern rarity with enthusiasm rarely seen for contemporary coins. There's a certain democratic appeal to the 1994 double die. It's a valuable treasure that anyone might find, not just wealthy collectors with access to rare coin auctions. What's particularly interesting about this coin is how its discovery story differs from many other famous numismatic rarities. Many valuable coins were recognized as special almost immediately, like the 1913 Liberty Head nickel or the 1804 silver dollar. But the 1994 double die flew under the radar for years, gradually gaining recognition as collectors began to notice these unusual pennies in their change. There's also a fascinating aspect to how these coins entered circulation. The U.S. Mint has quality control measures specifically designed to catch and remove error coins, but somehow thousands of these double dies made it past inspection and into the general coin supply. Some numismatic experts have suggested that because the doubling is somewhat subtle compared to some other double die errors, and because millions of coins are produced daily, quality inspectors simply missed them. Condition plays an enormous role in the value of these pennies. The copper composition means they're susceptible to toning and tarnishing over time. A 1994 double die that has been in circulation may develop a dark patina, while one that was fortunately stored in a protective holder immediately after entering circulation might retain its original bright copper luster. This difference in appearance can translate to thousands of dollars in value. If you think you found one, I strongly recommend getting it authenticated by a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC, Numismatic Guarantee Corporation. The investment in professional grading, which typically costs $20 to $50, is well worth it if your coin turns out to be genuine. Not only does certification confirm authenticity, but it also assigns a specific grade that directly impacts the coin's market value. Plus, a graded coin in a sealed holder is protected from environmental damage and much easier to sell. There are, unfortunately, counterfeits out there. Some unscrupulous sellers have artificially created doubling effects on regular 1994 pennies, or even altered the dates on genuine double die pennies from other years. A professional authenticator can spot these fakes easily, but to the untrained eye, they can be convincingly real. For new collectors, the hunt for a 1994 double die has become something of a rite of passage, a tangible goal that seems at least theoretically achievable. I personally know several serious collectors who got their start after finding an unusual coin in circulation and researching its value. Now let's turn our attention to the 1995 Lincoln cent, a coin with a different but equally fascinating story. While it doesn't feature the dramatic doubling of its 1994 counterpart, the 1995 penny has carved out its own legendary status among modern coin collectors for an entirely different reason. The year 1995 was relatively unremarkable in American history. The O.J. Simpson trial dominated headlines, Toy Story revolutionized animation, and Windows 95 changed computing forever. But in the numismatic world, something quietly significant was happening at the Philadelphia Mint. That year, the Mint produced just over 6.4 billion pennies, a substantial number, but actually fewer than many other years. What collectors didn't realize until years later was that a small number of these pennies were struck with a special finish never intended for circulation. You see, each year the U.S. Mint produces special collector's sets called proof sets, containing one of each denomination with a brilliant, mirror-like finish created through a specialized minting process. These proof coins are struck multiple times with specially polished dies on polished planchets, giving them an extraordinary reflective surface and sharp detail. They're exclusively sold to collectors and never meant to enter circulation. But somehow in 1995, a small batch of pennies struck with proof dies made their way into regular production runs. The result was the 1995 doubled die penny with a proof-like surface, a coin that combines both an error, the doubled die, and an inappropriate finish, the proof-like quality. Experts estimate that perhaps 30,000 to 50,000 of these unusual pennies entered circulation, a tiny fraction of the billions produced. What makes identifying a 1995 error penny particularly challenging is the subtlety of its doubling compared to the 1994 version. On the 1995 penny, the doubling is most noticeable in the word "liberty" and in the letters "In God We Trust." Under magnification, you can see clear separation in the serifs and edges of these letters. But it's the surface quality that really sets these coins apart. A genuine 1995 proof-like penny will have an unusual reflectiveness that standard circulation strikes lack. I remember the first time I held one of these remarkable pennies. It was at a coin show in Denver around 2008, and a dealer friend called me over to his table with a knowing smile. "Take a look at this," he said, handing me a plastic flip with what appeared to be an ordinary Lincoln cent inside. But when I tilted it under the light, I immediately saw what made it special. The fields, the flat background areas of the coin, had an almost mirror-like quality that contrasted beautifully with the frosted relief of Lincoln's portrait. Even before examining it with my loupe for the double die characteristics, I knew I was looking at something extraordinary. The market value of these 1995 rarities has followed an interesting trajectory. When they were first discovered in the late 1990s, they commanded modest premiums of perhaps $25 to $50. But as awareness grew among collectors and more specimens were authenticated by grading services, prices began to climb steadily. Today, a circulated example in fine to extra fine condition might sell for $50 to $100, while an uncirculated specimen can command $200 to $500 depending on quality. But the real value lies in pristine, high-grade examples. A 1995 double die penny in MS-65 condition can sell for $1,000 to $1,500, while the finest known examples, those graded MS-67 or higher, have sold at auction for upwards of $8,000. In 2020, a perfect MS-68 specimen sold for an astonishing $11,750 at a major auction, an incredible return on investment for something that originally cost just 1 cent. What I find particularly fascinating about the 1995 penny is how it represents an intersection of two different minting errors, both the double die strike and the inappropriate use of proof dies in regular production. This combination makes it not just valuable, but intellectually interesting to serious numismatists who study the minting process. There's also an intriguing question about how these errors occurred in the first place. The U.S. Mint maintains strict quality control procedures specifically designed to prevent such mistakes. For proof dies to be mistakenly used in regular production represents a significant breakdown in these protocols. Some experts have theorized that during a particularly high-demand period, mint workers might have pressed proof dies into service to meet production quotas, not realizing the distinctive finish they would impart to the coins. One of the most remarkable aspects of the 1995 double die penny story is that many of these coins are still in circulation today. Unlike errors that were quickly recognized and hoarded, these pennies largely went unnoticed for years. Many people simply didn't know to look for them, and the subtle nature of both the doubling and the proof-like finish means they can easily be overlooked even by people handling change daily. I've heard countless stories from viewers who've discovered these coins in ordinary places, penny jars, bank rolls, even in the "take a penny, leave a penny" trays at convenience stores. Last year, a woman in Michigan wrote to tell me she found one while counting her daughter's piggy bank savings. That coin, which had been sitting and used for nearly 2 decades, was later authenticated and graded MS-64, worth approximately $800. The value variation based on condition is particularly dramatic with the 1995 penny because the proof-like surface is so susceptible to marks and abrasions. A coin that entered circulation and received even minor wear will show significant reduction in the reflective quality that makes these pennies special. The difference between a 1995 double die that spent 2 weeks in circulation versus one that somehow remained pristine can be thousands of dollars. For collectors, this creates an interesting challenge, finding a 1995 penny with both clear doubling and a well-preserved proof-like surface. Many examples show one characteristic strongly but not the other. The most valuable specimens display both features in exceptional quality, a combination that becomes increasingly rare as the years pass. Storage and handling recommendations for these coins deserve special mention. If you believe you found one, even touching it with bare fingers can transfer oils that damage the delicate surface. I recommend using soft cotton gloves or holding the coin only by its edges, and storing it in a non-PVC plastic flip or capsule until you can have it professionally evaluated. Authentication is absolutely crucial with these coins, perhaps even more so than with the 1994 double die. Because the doubling is more subtle, there are unfortunately many counterfeit or misrepresented examples on the market. Some sellers even take ordinary 1995 pennies and buff them to create an artificial reflective surface, trying to simulate the proof-like quality. A trained professional can easily spot these fakes, but to casual collectors, they can be deceivingly convincing. The collecting community has developed a sort of informal checklist for identifying genuine 1995 double die proof-like pennies. First, examine the doubling under magnification of at least 5x power. Second, check the reflectivity by tilting the coin under direct light. A genuine example will show a mirror-like quality in the fields. Third, look for the sharp strike typical of proof production, particularly in Lincoln's hair detail and the wheat stalks on the reverse. Finally, verify the weight and composition. These should match standard 1995 pennies at 2.5 grams of copper-plated zinc. So the next time someone tells you that pennies are worthless, that they're just clutter not worth keeping, you might want to think twice. Check your coin jars, your penny rolls, and your change drawers. Look closely at the dates, examine the surfaces, and maybe, just maybe, you'll find one of these remarkable error coins that could be worth thousands. Until next time, keep your eyes sharp and your coin folders ready. You never know when you might make that life-changing discovery. Thanks for watching, and happy hunting.